Hi everybody, Diana here from Reduce Elevare. I hope that you're all well today. Unfortunately, I've had to record a video. I'm meant to be going live at 7 p.m. as promised, but the world has decided that it's not working for me today. I can't actually find the live button on my Instagram. And I have checked and checked and checked, and it just does not seem to be coming up at all. So if any of you've got any top tips about that, that'd be fantastic. However, we are here today to talk about teenage anxiety and self-esteem, most importantly. And I didn't want to let you down, so I have pre-recorded this video, as I've said, just to give you a bit of an insight into teenage anxiety and self-esteem, and to answer any questions that you may have. Even though it's not live, please feel free to comment in the comments box or DM us directly, and I will personally respond to your questions about anxiety and self-esteem for your children. So off the back of that, what is anxiety? What does it mean? It means a lot. It means many different things to different people, but the general aspects of anxiety link to not feeling very good inside, having some levels of feeling overwhelmed. There might be a lot of kind of worry and fear that can sometimes progress into panic. And we see this a lot. I see this a lot. I've seen this a lot in working in education over the last 20 years. And I've supported and helped with teams of people to try and get to the root cause of anxiety, particularly to support those in the first instance that were in school. And I do have to say there are great supports in school. There are great support systems. I'm based here in Dubai, and like I've said, I've worked in a number of schools, and the teams that they have in schools and the focus that they now put on well-being is extremely high. It's extremely high. I've been in Dubai for 15 years, so it's a long time. It's been a slow progression, should I say, over the years, but it definitely is has come, 110% over the 15 years that I've been here. So anxiety is a normal feeling. We can all get anxious. We might get anxious as adults before we have to go in for an interview. I was slightly anxious before I was going live, but that didn't quite happen. But I do still get slightly anxious, for example, recording myself. And because I'm not really, well, I'm talking to you as an audience, but at the same time, I wish you were all here, but you're not. So those types of anxiety are normal. You might be an actor or a performer going onto the stage, and you might have done it 100 times, but that anxiety can come because it fuels us. It actually can drive us to succeed. It's when we're looking at teenagers, that's anxiety in general. It's a survival, going back way back, thousands of years. It's a survival mechanism. So it puts us into flight or fight mode. And if you're not sure what that is, I'm going to have some resources coming out soon that's going to be kind of sharing what that fight or flight is in terms of anxiety, and how we can support our teenagers today to acknowledge those feelings. And I'll give you some coping strategies today as well. It's for you as parents as well to be able to support your children, because it's extremely difficult for family and friends around when you have someone in your family that does have bouts of anxiety. It could come, it could go. It might be more severe where it's consistent and persistent, and that's slightly different. So there are many forms it can come in. It's just how it impacts our everyday life. So there are some normalities to anxiety. Like I said, it can fuel and drive us. But when we see young people being impacted by anxiety, where it is interfering with their daily life, or it's interfering with, with their daily life. It could be impacting the preparation for school, the way they socially connect with other people. They could become quite withdrawn. Maybe some of you have experienced this. I've had a few questions already, so I'll get into that in a moment. So when it starts to impact daily life, then you know that it's progressed somewhat to a stage where your child would benefit from support. And there are a number of ways in which you can support your child. And I'll go into that a bit later in another, hopefully, live video. Hopefully, but if not, I'll definitely be talking through some of the ways in which you can see whether you need to get some extra support, therapy, and those types of support. So let's look at some of the questions that you've asked, because I've been talking for quite some time now, and I can do that. So some of the questions were, one of the questions was, at what point do you see the difference in teenagers where anxiety is from normal to it becoming a problem? You know, it can be debilitating. And it can actually really have an immense impact, like I said, on the child. Of course it does, and the people around them. So it's gauging your child. You only know your child best. So it's observing. It's observing them at home, maybe connect with their teachers or the wellbeing teams that are in schools, and ask how their, not necessarily their academic performances, but how they are in class, how they're interacting. Have they seen a change? Because you have. You know, you wouldn't be here today wondering how you can support your child if you hadn't seen a change. So it's when it comes over that kind of normal anxiety, as we'll call it, is when it's really having an adverse impact on daily life. What does this look like? It could look like kind of lack of sleep. Sleep can be affected. It could be the refusal to participate in anything that's fun, or it could be a lack of motivation. There's other physical symptoms as well. A lot of teenagers that do have very overwhelming feelings of anxiety may shake. It might not be to the extreme, but they might face a fear. Okay, so they might face a challenge that, let's say it's an everyday challenge at school where they have to figure out a maths equation, for example, and they might get really overwhelmed by that. And you know, some physical symptoms start to happen. There's sweaty palms, hot flushes. They might be feeling sick in the stomach, heart palpitations, and those types of things. So do keep an eye out for those as well. And that's when some intervention and some support is needed. And it could be as simple as you as the parent, carer, or guardian inquiring what they're feeling. I think we have to be really mindful that teenagers, in the first instance, don't necessarily want to open up. You know, they're of an age going through these really important developmental transitions in their life, where there's a possibility where they are questioning, you know, their likes, their dislikes, their friends, and really kind of figuring out that next chapter of their life. So that could also trigger some level of anxiety, because it's a really tough, difficult time. And I think as adults, we have to remember when we were teenagers and what that time was like. And more so now with social media. You know, social media has a huge impact. And I'll just kind of roll back. So another question there, can go off on a tangent here. I'll be talking live for about 3 hours anyway, so hopefully the universe will get me online at some point to speak live to you. It hasn't meant to be last week or this week, so I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for that. So I hope this compensates, and then you can save the reel, you can save the video, which is good. So another question I had was, how do I know as a parent what is affecting my child and what impact it's having on them? So that's a really interesting one, because if your child isn't communicating with you, which, let's be honest, most teenagers don't particularly communicate well to an extent about maybe their feelings. That's not just saying that, you know, about all teenagers, but especially when they don't know, maybe they don't know. So a few strategies you could put in place to kind of broach the subject with them could be, if they are having a day, let's say for example they've had a really overwhelming day, they have shared with you that they felt this kind of sense of dread and panic, and then they felt it in their stomach, and they really felt anxious, and they felt overwhelmed, and they didn't know why. What we have to try and do is not necessarily ask them why, because they probably don't know. But what we can do is inquire. We can ask a few questions, but then that might also be slightly overwhelming if they're still in an anxious state. So we have to be, again, very mindful, and is the child, you know, you have to think, is your child still in an anxious state? If they're still in an anxious state, the questions are just going to overwhelm them even more. So what you can do is, if they're sharing little snippets, it's validating their feelings. You might not understand, and that's okay. That's not your fault. We're all human at the end of the day, and we all have different responses to things. And of course you want your child to share what's happening with them. So it's validating their feelings. It's really important. So I have another resource that I will put out. It's a free resource, so you can just comment. If you comment calm in this reel, CALM, I'll send you the resource. But just for some examples, you could say to them, I might not necessarily understand what you have gone through today, because you've not had their day, or you've not had their moment in time that's really impacted them and made them feel anxious. But let's try and work through this together. You are then now creating a safe space, a really clear understanding and connection and relationship with your child that you will try to understand. And that's, I find that very important for teenagers, because teenagers are always testing the water with who they can share information with and who might possibly judge them. So they're in this phase already of you know, comparing themselves to others. And that was another question. Sorry, because it's not live, I keep forgetting to answer the questions. Okay, so another question was, how do I feel that screen time, social media, is having an impact on my child and their self-esteem, because it's about anxiety and self-esteem, because the two are interconnected quite closely. And I'll go into that in a moment. So obviously the first key thing is to try and reduce screen time, but as we know, it's extremely difficult in the world that we live in. They have to have their iPhones or their Androids or whatever else they've got, their iPads, their laptops, everything is interconnected to development at school, academically, even socially, and keeping up with the news and the world. And teenagers love social media. They do. So they're highly influenced by who they follow on social media. So maybe that's something that you could have a look at with them, rather than invading their space and taking their phone. You could see who they're following on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, What else have they got? You know, all of these other platforms, and you will get an idea of the types of influences that they're having in their life. Teenagers actually, which we all do it as well, even as adults, but we learn to grow and develop and learn that comparing yourself to other people isn't helpful. But teenagers are in this, developmental stage where they do compare. So the answer to the question there is there's some way as a parent you can control their social media. You probably most likely won't be able to control it all, but you can become more interested in who they're following, and even get them to follow, wellness influencers, for example. Get them to follow people who are putting quotes up to encourage teenagers and children to feel good about themselves. There's another question. Yes, one of you had said that anxiety or low self-esteem. Okay, your child has some low self-esteem, but they used to be a very high performer. So I'm very sociable and communicate with others well. And you've noticed a regression in that. Again, it could be a number of factors. There's so much pressure. There's so much pressure on teenagers these days, which we're fully aware of and we understand in this fast-paced world. But how do we take the pressure away from them a bit? How do we let them just be, and to, recognize and they're maybe changing, it's to slow down. It's helping them slow down. So, even I know teenagers refuse to do things as well. So I'm not saying that this is top tip, but I know it's warm here in Dubai as well, but going out for a short walk can help, or even laps around the garden. It's not that fun, but going for a walk together, making the effort to go for a nice walk down at Kite Beach, for example, in the evening if you live close by, or there's being out in nature. There's something to be said for being out of nature and taking a child, or it's not a child, but a teenager, your teenager, away from all of the busyness that they have and all the pressures, the pressures of, in school, not just in school, but in life, of achievements, of who's popular and who's not popular, and who's got the best t-shirt, and, who's wearing the coolest trainers. These things matter to our teens. They matter, and it's teaching our children that the most important is to learn about themselves, and to know that to learn that everybody's different and we don't have to be the same as everybody else. So these types of conversations can be difficult for you as a parent, and I appreciate that, because again, children do sometimes open up more to someone who's on the outside. It's almost easier sometimes. So it's really, I'm going to have to go soon because I can't upload the video, otherwise it doesn't upload quick enough, and I want it uploaded by 7. But it's validating their feelings. It's validating their feelings. Sleep is a huge factor that can really contribute to anxiety. Anxiety, as I was saying earlier, anxiety then has a catalyst effect, so it has a knock-on effect to, sorry, there's a big helicopter going by there. It has a knock-on effect to self-esteem, because if you're not feeling good about yourself and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're fearful and you don't understand why, then it can really have an impact on a teenager's identity and who they are and what they're about. So again, it's maybe they want to try something new. maybe you could try and encourage them to try something creative. If they're not creative, maybe there's so many after school activities in schools as well, which is amazing. It always fascinates me how especially here in Dubai, like the enrichment programs are just phenomenal. But again, I know it's difficult to motivate your child to want to stay at school for a bit longer, especially if they are not enjoying it. But again, going back, the support systems here in schools are fantastic, and definitely it's difficult to open up sometimes about these vulnerabilities with our children, but it's really important that because those that are teaching them or looking after them in school have an awareness, because once we have an awareness, once anyone has an awareness of anything, then changes can be made and support can be put into place. What was the other question? There was another, there were some really fantastic questions, and please do just put in the comments box calm, and I'll send you the resource as well. And any questions you have, just either put them in the comments box or direct message me, and I will respond, because everybody has a different experience with their children, of course, and what their child is going through. Another question was, when my child gets overly, really anxious, and it's building, sometimes it might come out in the form of anger or crying. It may be a moment of, they might kind of hide away for a bit. Obviously, approaching your child with the utmost compassion and empathy is number one. You are also managing, and be mindful you're managing your own emotions as well. A calm parent, even if you want to fix the problem, sometimes you can't fix it at that moment in time, and that might be difficult for some of you to hear. But as humans, we naturally just want to go in for the solution. My child is upset, or they're overwhelmed, or I wish they weren't like this because they're such an amazing human. But it's just bringing yourself to the present moment and seeing, really seeing that they are very stressed. It's a very stressful feeling inside, and it's very overwhelming. So compassion, empathy, gentleness. Think, I don't need to fix this right now. We can come up with solutions later. Try and think, what I do need to do right now is just be present. Your child might not want to talk. Just be present. Let them know they're there. Make them feel safe. Make them a cup of tea. Whatever it is that you need to do. Just think in that moment, I don't need to fix this right now. Because again, it can escalate a situation. What you want to do in the moment is to calm your child down. Now, you might have seen all the breathing techniques in the world, which there are many. There are hundreds of breathing techniques that you can do, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, and keep getting your child to do this. It's the simplest one. We all regulate through breath. That was another question, just remembered. Yes, how can I regulate my child? And it's the nervous system. Okay, biologically, it's the nervous system that's in fight or flight, like I mentioned earlier. But back thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of years ago, fight or flight was, if a lion was coming towards us, for example, do we run? Do we fight? Fight or flight. So we still have that nervous system within our bodies, and it can be triggered. And it's finding those triggers. You don't have to ask hundreds and hundreds of questions at the time to your child to, you know, find those triggers in a moment. It takes time. It takes time. Good nutrition can be difficult to get children, teenagers to eat. You know, but it does have a huge impact. It has a huge impact on their health. Antioxidants, any food with antioxidants like berries, dragon fruit. I'm going to think of a few off the top of my head. Please write them in the comments if you can think of any with antioxidants. Acai. I can never really get the word right, I'm not sure, but that has lots of antioxidants in and is tasty. So nutritious foods, and I know it can be difficult. Yeah, someone else asking a question about my child is not sleeping because they're overwhelmed, because they have to be up early, and you know, they don't, kind of anxious maybe about an exam coming up. There was a lot of exam questions. 100% understand that, and I'll be giving out more resources as well, and doing a lot of workshops over the next probably around December, January time, maybe February, when the exams are coming up. So do look out for those, because exam pressure is real for teenagers. It really is, and it can really trigger a lot of anxieties and sleep deprivation, which doesn't help. The cycle just continues. There are some herbal remedies, you know, as I've claimed and always claim, that I am not a doctor or a medical practitioner or a psychologist. I'm just someone that's worked with a lot of children over the years, and families and parents over 20 years, and done a lot of training myself in Udoberic nutrition and holistic approaches. And for those of you who've been following me will know that that's my philosophy, is where psychology meets holistic practice. So what I would recommend, but make sure that you test this out, make sure you do your research on it first. I'd always say that. Magnesium. So magnesium's amazing. Magnesium, you can get a spray. You can get magnesium for like with lavender in, for like on your pillow. That's good. Just test it first. But yeah, always read the instructions when you buy anything like that. Test it on the skin first. Magnesium you can get in capsules. Magnesium citrate and glutamate. There's two different ones, but make sure you do your research, please. And there's another herbal remedy, very natural, and we actually produce it in our brains. It's melatonin. You can get a really low dose. You can get 1 milligram up to 5 milligrams. But it is a herbal remedy, and we do naturally. It's a natural herbal remedy that we do produce. But again, like I said, please, if you do take my advice on these things, please always read and speak to the person in the medical centre. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Because that helps with sleep. It puts us into, it naturally puts us into a nice calm state. So that's that. Trying to think of any other questions. Right, just before I go, so we're on 28 minutes. Lucky we weren't live, because you might have been on there for 3 hours. But no, I'm really hoping to go live next time. I really am, because I was so excited last week, and then the timing wasn't great. And now I can't find there's no live button. So anyone's got top tips on the live button, let me know. That'd be great. I did have a look as well, but I didn't want to be late uploading this for you guys at 7. Self-esteem. Yeah, a little bit about self-esteem. Self-esteem, again, affects a lot of teenagers. There's about 1 in 4 teenagers, just from a couple of researches that I've done. 1 in 4 teenagers at some point or another have and can have low self-esteem. It doesn't mean that it continues for a long period of time, but it could be consistent. and what we want for our children and our teenagers and our young people is to thrive. That is what we want for them, and this is the reason why I do what I do. So self-esteem can have an impact. It might be comparing to other people. It could be about appearance and their self-image. It could be about their achievements, because they don't feel like they're achieving high enough. Oh, and that was the other tip that I was going to say is, you know, we always focus on performance and achievement when the end result comes in, but actually we need to really focus on the progress that our children make. We really need to focus on really praising our children for even the smallest detail. Now, we don't have to be over the top all the time and do it all the time. That's not reality. We can't do that. But you know, if some progress has been made and that you know that your child's been struggling, just a little bit of praise goes such a long way. What else? Yeah, I think I've covered majority of questions that I was DM'd. So thank you so much for those. Thank you for sending me those in advance. They were really helpful and helped me to kind of prepare for what was meant to be live. So I hope that this has helped in some way. Please do put some comments in and I can change it up for next time. Let me know what questions you have. I will message you back. I'll direct message you. I'll message you personally. And again, I'm so sorry that I couldn't go live, but I'm glad that I've managed to do this and to hopefully get this uploaded before 7 o'clock. Please have a lovely rest of your evening. Please follow us at educator. That would be amazing, on Instagram. And please do visit our website as well. I will pop it on the bottom of I'll put it in the captions. And oh, I do have some October workshops coming up. So do keep your eyes peeled for those, because one of them is actually I'm doing it for one day only. And it's for teenagers, for anxiety and self-esteem. So it's called Teen Empowerment Program. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'll let you know when that is. So that's in October. So if you're interested, just keep your eyes peeled for the other letters. Just the other letters, not the other letters, the other posts. I think I've just shown my age, but the other posts that will be coming soon on Instagram and Facebook. All right, thanks guys. Take care. Till next time.